Welcome to the 2020 ICT Fair Conference, jointly hosted by the University of Eswatini, Eswatini Government, the Royal Science and Technology Park, and the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority. I am Qiniwe Fagutse, and I am going to be your facilitator and program director throughout this short but power-packed webinar that looks to speak to a varying number of topics, but at the core of it really, we're just trying to stretch your mind and your perspective on the changes that we are seeing in society now, and we call it changes that are facilitated and necessitated by the new normal. Before I go further, allow me to welcome our dignitaries that are going to be joining us through this webinar, and they're also speakers and panelists as well. I'd like to humbly welcome and honor the presence of His Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister of the Kingdom, Mandululo Dlamini, the Acting Minister for ICT, Senator Manqoba Khumalo. We also have the Chief Executive Officer for the Royal Swaziland Technology Park, Vumile Dlamini. We have the Vice Chancellor of the University of Eswatini, Professor Justice Twala. Last but not least, we are joined by the Chief Executive Officer for the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, Sibane Ngomedulu. I would also like to welcome our speakers, our moderators, our panelists, and you, the people that are joining us from wherever you are in the beautiful kingdom and outside of the kingdom. It's really going to be an amazing ICT Fair of 2020. Why I believe it's going to be amazing is because the theme itself is one. As I was going through the theme myself, it rocks your brain and it makes you make and think about choices and decisions that we need to make, one as a kingdom, secondly as corporates, as government, and as individuals in our households. The new normal. The theme, digital transformation in the new normal. It's a buzzword, everybody's talking about digital transformation, but we want you now to bring it closer to home. If you're a businessman, this is what you should be thinking about in your business. If you're the government of Eswatini, these are the things that you should now be thinking about. If you're a parent, a mother with students going to university, they're going to primary or even they're in kindergarten, digital transformation is the way that we need to start thinking now. How does it affect me? How does it affect my life? We're going to have key experts that are going to speak to this topic under two key thematic areas. The first one is banking in the new normal, and the second one is ICT and the innovations then that we need to come up with, all trying to deal with the new normal. But firstly, allow me to then have the partners that are key towards the hosting of this webinar. They will give us our welcoming remarks, and thereafter we shall move on to the next set of speakers. Please do enjoy.
The program director, the guest speaker, the Right Honorable Prime Minister Ambrose Mandululo Dlamini, the Acting Honorable Minister of ICT, Senator Manqoba Khumalo, senior government officials, the CEOs from RSTP and SIPA, industry captains, distinguished speakers for the day, senior university management, deans of different faculties, university staff and colleagues, sponsors, students, and media houses represented. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the University Council, Senate, and University of Eswatini community at large, I wish to convey warm greetings to you all. I would also like to extend special greetings and appreciation to the guest speaker, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister Ambrose Mandululo Dlamini. Let me preface my speech by appreciating your good leadership, Your Excellency, that you have shown in steering the country to shore in these trying times of COVID-19. Your steady hand in steering the country through the storm of COVID-19 is commendable, and I'm confident with your leadership, the economy of the country will recover as you endeavor to strike the balance between economic recovery and saving lives. Your presence in this year's ICT is testimony to your commitment to economic recovery through the use of ICT as the key driver in all sectors of the economy. And for that, we are blessed and we are forever grateful. I would also like to thank the organizing team from RSTP, UNESWA, the Minister of ICT, and SIPA, who have been holding discussions prior to this important day. These institutions realized the need to educate the public about the role of ICT in the economic development of the country. It was from this understanding that these institutions initiated the ICT Fair initiative, where players in the ICT industry will get an opportunity to showcase their products and services in the public. This is one way through which the public can learn more about the ICT products and services, thus develop more interest in the sector. The theme for last year ICT was Innovate, Connect and Transform ICT for the Youth. Your Excellency, the Honorable Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, His Majesty King Mswati III and Chancellor of UNESCO gave a directive during the University of Eswatini 38th graduation 2 years ago for a need to invest in transformation, commercialization and innovation. No one had indeed anticipated by then that there would be COVID-19 2 years down the line. This year, the directive is put into test for the country at large, including universities who have invested in transformation through the use of ICT and commercialization. That is strategic investments and last but not least, innovation to survive in the midst of the pandemic. I am happy to be part of the occasion that is attempting to highlight to the world how the country has positioned itself to survive in the new normal. The ICT Fair could not have come at a better time than this. COVID-19 has presented the planet with a lot of challenges and opportunities, especially for science, technology, and innovation. The world, including Eswatini, has taken unprecedented measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Following the directive from His Majesty's government, the country instituted several lockdowns, and the university closed on the 17th March 2020, in sync with government measures to prevent the spread of the disease. The University Senate consequently instituted a transition of all teaching and learning activities from the conventional face-to-face approach to online mode of delivery of our programs using Moodle and other online platforms, as it happened in other universities. An online mode of delivery of instruction had its own challenges, as our students lacked the necessary gadgets and data bundles for online access of teaching materials. 50% of the population lacked the basic equipment for online learning, which is a laptop, and a majority of our students are underprivileged and cannot afford these gadgets. In spite of these challenges, teaching and learning had to continue, and the university pledged to leave no student behind. All efforts were made to provide students who could not access online learning by putting provisions within the almanac for part face-to-face and modifying some of our academic regulations to provide online learning. Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the ICT Fair will provide a platform for different institutions to reflect on the position of the country with respect to ICT sector, which will allow young ones to come up with innovative ideas through a contest and kids career fair. Innovation contest is an opportunity for young technology enthusiasts to showcase their creativity, while the kids career fair offers guidance to our young people by hosting young professionals who have made it in the STEM fields. In conclusion, I would like to thank the Right Honorable Prime Minister and the Acting Honorable Minister of ICT, whom I know is very passionate about ICT industry, for finding time to grace this year's ICT Fair virtual event. Furthermore, I would like to applaud all the sponsors of the function today. We really appreciate your support. The long term of UNESCO is to host this fair every year and further grow it into an international ICT fair. We are looking forward to a much bigger and better ICT fair in the subsequent years. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you to the ICT Fair 2020. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sebenzile Dlamini. I am representing Mr. Vumile Dlamini, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Royal Science and Technology Park. His Excellency the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Acting Minister for ICT, sponsors, presenters, distinguished participants, good morning. It is once again that time of the year where we come together to reflect on our contributions to the development of the ICT industry in the Kingdom of Eswatini. This is also an opportunity to reveal to the public the ICT technologies that are in the market and those being developed by various businesses in order to speed up digital transformation. We are thankful to His Majesty's government for promoting ICT as one of the main catalysts for economic growth in the recently launched post-COVID economic recovery strategy. That shows great political will, which will drive government, private sector, and the public in the right direction in order to transform the socio-economic well-being of eMaswati and integrate our economy into the global economy. As we embrace the new normal, we are seeing the opportunities presented by a technology-driven society. As the Royal Science and Technology Park, we are encouraged to observe how the COVID-19 pandemic has caused humanity to adapt to the consumption of digital information instead of paper-based information, and the creation of digital-based business models, service delivery, trade and consumption practices, and human interaction. We have no doubt that this will result in new socio-economic structures, but it will also call for further modifications of organizational and nationwide legal and policy instruments as enablers of digital transformation. The Royal Science and Technology Park is well positioned to contribute to the enhancement of ICT infrastructure and services in Eswatini. Through the National Data Center, which will provide a robust and secure network for remote storage, processing, or distribution of large amounts of data, we aim to enable government and businesses to enhance business model innovation, cut capital expenditure and increase returns, enhance service delivery or customer experience with guaranteed information security. Soon after the completion of the ICT infrastructure for the data center, businesses will enjoy IT services from the park, which include co-location, virtual computing and networking, software as a service, and professional services. Our interest in ICT is not limited to infrastructure development. Through the incubation program, innovators are empowered to produce locally made ICT solutions that will change the way we do business in Eswatini. These innovators need all of us to create an enabling environment or comprehensive ecosystem for them to realize economic returns from their ideas. Together with the Ministry of ICT, we aim to increase the number and value of ICT innovations in Eswatini and export these to the regional and international markets. The park is also actively involved in ICT capacity building in order to ensure that eMaswati have the necessary skills for the ICT sector. We achieve this through the Advanced School of IT, which offers programs in cyber security and forensics, information security and ethical hacking, software engineering, and others. Therefore, I hope that our deliberations in the topics to be presented today will motivate all of us to speed up the development of the ICT infrastructure and services in the Kingdom of Eswatini. I also look forward to our discussions of how we can collectively ensure that no member of our society is excluded from the opportunities presented by ICT. Let me conclude by thanking all partners who continue to make the ICT Fair a success. We have already started thinking about next year's event and hope to be joined by participants from government, private sector, the public, and international community. Thank you.
The Right Honorable Prime Minister, Ambrose Mandvulo Dlamini, the Acting Honorable Minister of ICT, Manqoba Khumalo, the Principal Secretaries of the Ministry of ICT and Ministry of Education and Training, the CEOs of the partnering institutions of UNESWA and RSTP, the organizing committees of the ICT Fair, the IPA team organizing the Eswatini Virtual Trade Fair, as well as our online audience. It is worth acknowledging that the world is faced with rapid changes in a number of facets in life. These changes demand swift action in adapting business operations to be aligned to the investment and trade environment as impacted by these changes. And evidently so, the ICT sector forms the foundation of all new economic drivers, especially with the fourth industrial revolution upon us. It is for that reason that exhibitions such as the ICT Fair are critical for rolling out new technologies and systems to match the rapid changes in business needs and operations. Let me first applaud the collaborating institutions and government for organizing such a critical event, namely the ICT Fair. The ICT Fair mitigates challenges in the sector and highlights opportunities as well. As entrenched in the different mandates of our different institutions, we are all in various ways contributing to trade and investment. Personally, I'm excited about the opportunities brought about by the ICT Fair, where high school students have an opportunity to participate in a career fair and have opportunities to solve economic challenges or problems brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, in Siswati, we say, "Ilkochwal semandi." Due to the pandemic, it's unfortunate we couldn't organize physical exhibitions in this year's ICT Fair. Nonetheless, the team has done well, the organizing team, to introduce this virtual platform to host the fair. And it serves in its fourth year as an innovative year, linking the Eswatini Virtual Trade Fair, hosted on Eswatini's largest online shopping mall, buyeswatini.com. Let me emphasize on this by informing you that as IPA, the Investment Promotion Authority of Eswatini, we are taking a lead position when it comes to matters of e-commerce, and we have two main offerings in this regard. Buyeswatini.com, which is Eswatini's online shopping mall. Local business is encouraged to open their stores and sell products using this platform, which offers ease of access for their customers. Secondly, the Eswatini Virtual Trade Fair. This is an online exhibition platform where local businesses will be able to exhibit their goods and services, offering unrestricted access to exhibitions from all over the world at any time of the day or night. The advantages of virtual exhibitions over physical ones are that they are endless, and they culminate in reduced exhibition cost and generally new ways of doing business. Let us remember that the whole world is adjusting to change, and we should see the opportunity and be innovative in terms of bringing about new technology-based solutions. The digital virtual economy is expanding at a very fast pace, and ICT is at the forefront of these changes. It's for that reason that we've placed much importance on the ICT Fair and the opportunities it presents to eMaSwati and clients and broader stakeholders. In conclusion, may I encourage everyone not to ignore the ICT space, as this new normal is not going away. The future of business will be driven by technological platforms, products, and services. I also wish to thank the Right Honorable Prime Minister for taking time from his busy schedule to share his wisdom on issues pertaining to the ICT sector. We thank you.
Thank you very much for the welcome remarks from the CEO of the RSTP, CEO of IPA, and the Vice Chancellor of UNESWA. Thank you very much, and we thank you for your visionary leadership in financing that we have and host the ICT Fair in 2020. At this point, it gives me great joy to humbly invite and welcome the Acting Minister for the Ministry of ICT, Senator Manqoba Khumalo. The Senator, who is also the Minister, will speak briefly about the topic this day, and he will then further move on to humbly introduce our guest and keynote speaker, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Mandulo Dlamini.
One of the key elements in our strategic roadmap is ICT, and His Excellency the Prime Minister has been a stalwart in propagating the notion that ICT and ICT education are very fundamental and foundational to the development of Eswatini to becoming a first world country in 2022 as His Majesty envisioned. It is a very proud moment for me to humbly introduce His Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, to address this fair on the very same subject of ICT and ICT education that will propel the country to the next level. His Excellency has an amazing career in the same sector, having led the biggest technology company in Eswatini, MTN, and he leads from the front when it comes to technological innovation in government, in parastatals, as well as the private sector. His credentials on this subject are second to none, and I have no doubt that he will exude the passion as he addresses this particular event. With those remarks, may I kindly introduce His Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Ambrose Mandulo Dlamini, to address this meeting. Thank you.
It gives me great pleasure to address you during this year's ICT Fair under the theme, Digital Transformation is the New Normal. If there is anyone anywhere in the world who disagrees with this theme, it would be someone who has not experienced firsthand the effects of the global pandemic, COVID-19. Even though COVID-19 has had a devastating impact, particularly on world economies, it has also brought with it huge opportunities in the ICT sector and has seen government transform into digital spaces where nations gather and share vital information. This ICT fair we are about today further cements this, as it is being hosted virtually. I am told that this year's ICT fair will be packed with a number of programs, namely a webinar with industry captains, a career fair targeted for students, and innovation contest. All these are meant to unpack digital transformation and opportunities amidst the pandemic. Never has ICT been at the center of focus as it has been this year. The Kingdom of Eswatini, like the rest of the world, has been working tirelessly to come up with digital solutions in the midst of COVID-19. Eswatini has seen a number of e-tools and e-platforms being introduced during this year alone, tools which have seen the country move closer to His Majesty's vision of Eswatini's attaining first world status by year 2022. These tools include, but not limited to, the Eswatini Trade Information Portal, a one-stop online platform which is aimed at assisting Emaswati trade efficiently with the rest of the world. Just this month, Eswatini launched the 50 Million African Women Speak platform, an initiative by the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, funded by the African Development Bank. The aim is to empower women entrepreneurs across Africa to not only trade amongst themselves, but also share knowledge and information about the vast opportunities for trade across Africa. These two initiatives follow other equally important tools, such as the online tariff platform by the Eswatini Revenue Authority, the National Platform Health Inspection Services by the Ministry of Agriculture, and the e-payment platform for company registration using mobile money by the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, among other initiatives. All these initiatives align with the government's vision of making Eswatini an efficient, dependable and modern service provider as articulated in the Strategic Roadmap 2019-2022. The Kingdom of Eswatini has demonstrated political will towards mainstreaming ICT, and this is well documented in the Strategic Roadmap, the National Development Plan, the Post-COVID-19 Economic Recovery Plan, and the Strategy for Sustainable Development and Inclusive Growth 2030, amongst others. The Strategic Roadmap and the Post-COVID-19 Economic Recovery Plan further identify ICT as one of the key growth sectors, in line with government's long-term goal of repositioning Eswatini as a center for innovation and inclusive growth. Furthermore, the establishment of key institutions in the national system of innovation, such as the Royal Science and Technology Park, the National Research Council, and the Kingdom of Eswatini Academy of Science, is proof of government's commitment towards digital transformation. There is no doubt that ICTs are imperative for national development. The advocacy of ICT is crucial as it propels its adoption and use in communities, the work environment, and most importantly, in the academia. Countries that have prioritized science, technology, and innovation have achieved sustainable global competitiveness and transformation towards a knowledge-based economy. The hosting of the ICT Fair has not only promoted the use of ICTs, but also fortified the importance of collaboration, knowledge sharing, and intentionally working together in developing the country. I would like to commend the collaborating institutions, namely the Ministry of ICT, University of Eswatini, the Royal Science and Technology Park, and the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority for successfully putting together this ICT Fair. The successful implementation of the country's development initiatives is indeed contingent on working together in developing solutions that are responsive to our challenges and incorporating ICTs. And in the words of multi-work, technology is best when it brings people together. It now gives me pleasure on behalf of His Majesty's Government to declare the 2020 ICT Fair officially open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister Siyabonga Nkosi. Thank you for joining us and speaking with the great wisdom that you've spoken about. We have no doubt that as you are leading this great kingdom and you are chartering us and living in this new normal, that your wisdom will come to the fore. Thank you very much. At this point, we're going to move on to our first presentation of the webinar. A great CEO, well-known and celebrated world over, Jeff Bezos from Amazon said, "There is no alternative to digital transformation. Visionary companies will carve out new strategic options for themselves. Those that don't adapt will fail." And as you think about that, our next speaker is going to be speaking to a topic, banking in the new normal. Allow me to hand over to our first moderator, Babesenzo Malaza, who in his own right is a seasoned media practitioner. He's a seasoned consultant that speaks to issues of development and issues of how to engage and communicate with companies and individuals. He's currently serving at the Royal Science and Technology Park as a senior communications officer. Over to you, Mr. Malaza.
Welcome everyone. My name is Senzo Malaza. I'll be your moderator for this session. Coming up next is Mr. Dennis Mbingo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of First National Bank, Eswatini. Mr. Mbingo will be talking to us about the banking in the new normal. Mr. Mbingo is well traveled within the FNB group. He's been in FNB Mozambique, Lesotho, and he has been based in South Africa, where he was head of operations for FNB International. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Dennis Mbingo.
Thank you to the University of Eswatini for the invite to this ICT discussion. It's a very broad conversation, and I don't think it's an easy one. Banking in the new normal is a very popular topic these days. There's lots of data, lots of conversation, lots of material available, and our take is there isn't enough data to take any particular positions on what the future is going to look like. We know enough based on the last 7 to 9 months to have a sense of where the world is going generally in terms of the broader economy. And we know enough to take certain positions, but this cannot be firmed up until we get a lot more data. And as I've said, it's not an easy conversation, and we're living in a period of uncertainty and observing what is happening in Europe, in Asia, in the Americas, and trying to see what the lessons are for Africa. One of the things that stands out is at some point we didn't know what this pandemic was all about, and we migrated to a position where we actually started thinking that we are understanding what COVID-19 is, and we are on top of it, and now we're getting to a phase where we know that Europe and the Americas and other parts of the world are going through what people call a second wave. And that is coming with its own lessons. So it is not a pandemic that is as understood as we would like to be, but we know enough at least to manage it. And you see the economic data and the social data coming out of a lot of countries that this is going to be an evolving situation for quite a while. There's certain things that we've picked as core lessons at a broader level. One is that pandemics may not be going away. This may be how the future of humanity needs to survive and thrive over the next couple of decades. It's the first in a very long time, but all indicators are with global warming, with climate change, and with the level of interaction we have between ourselves through globalization and with nature, we might be facing a similar crisis in future. Just recently we had MERS. At some point we had the first or the most pronounced version of coronavirus, SARS, and we've had several other, smaller scale pandemics that have affected clusters of society. The only difference with what we're facing today is that it's been the most, global. So pandemics generally are not going to be going away. So we have to rethink as humanity how we want to change our way of lives and what decisions we make, not just about the economy or banking, but how we interact with nature. The second biggest lesson for me is that capitalism itself is being held to light. Somewhere in the journey of the last 9 months, you see signs that capitalism needs to develop a very audible heartbeat and get to show greater consciousness around community engagement, community involvement, and how corporations can support societies and the communities that they make profits in. Profits alone definitely is not enough. So if we're to take away anything from the conversation, from our perspective, is that this is not exactly going to go away completely. In one form or another, humanity is going to have to deal with pandemics. Two, capitalism needs to develop a very, very audible and strong social heartbeat. Now, we'd like to share with you some of the observations we've seen within the F&B space on customer behavior and conduct. One, there's been a fallback to more traditional transaction methods that involve cash. By and large, for all the digitization that we're promoting and automation, we are still a cash-centric economy. Even the digitization that we see is involving transactions underneath that necessitate the withdrawal of cash. So in the numbers, if you can see on the graphs, cash withdrawals have been very strong. Yes, we saw a dip during the lockdown because people could not move, but as soon as people could move, we saw very strong pickup around cash, e-wallet, and cash withdrawals, e-wallet, and cash deposit figures post the lockdown. So 2% might seem like a small increase, but on a month-on-month basis, that's actually quite material for us.
Thank you very much for the fabulous and amazing presentation, Banking in the New Normal. Yeah, it really has challenged all of us individually and the way we do our banking and the way we transact. At this point, if you're sitting at home and you're listening to us from wherever you are, please make sure that you continue to invite more and more people as they would benefit from the next presentation and also other presentations that are still going to happen. At this point, please allow me to introduce our second speaker. Our second speaker, the moderator, of course, is the Director of Technical Services at the Eswatini Communications Commission, Mr. Tulani Fagutse. He's an engineer and a seasoned man in the industry of ICT himself. The next topic, one that is very interesting, is then how do we innovate? Innovation in the new normal.
First of all, I would like to start by recognizing the presence of the Right Honorable Prime Minister as guest of honor in this year's proceedings. For me, really, this is a practical demonstration of government's commitment to and recognition to the role that ICTs can play in improving the socio-economic being of the people of this country. If you think of it, really, this session is merely a continuation of the excellent presentation that has been made by the previous panel, as the COVID-19 pandemic has required that we relook at some of the established norms and practices, not only from a banking point of view, but holistically in an effort to really to relook and ascertain if such practices are still relevant for survival in the new normal. Without sounding really like a broken record, it has already been mentioned, and we have already heard that the COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated to all of us that the world we live in, and you can never say you know for certain what is going to happen tomorrow. You can never say that you have planned everything and that is exactly what is going to happen going forward. And really, the pandemic has demonstrated to us that there is need for a continuous change and transformation in trying us to adapt as a country, as a people, to these changes in the environment. And one of the best and available options that we have to responding to these changes in the environment and achieving effective transformation is through innovation, and innovation really that goes beyond just making changes and adjustments in the way that we provide services and products, but rather changes in the business models themselves, the way that we run our businesses is where probably we need to be innovative. The pandemic, from where I am sitting, we don't need to look at it as a disaster, if I may put it like that, but rather as an opportunity for us to innovate and develop groundbreaking solutions that will improve our lives, that will deal directly with the challenges that we have as a country. And that is where I think it is important that maybe as a country we just look at it from that point of view, particularly in the ICT sector, where a lot of services now and solutions now are now provided in a digital format, and for both businesses and individuals alike. I think that is where we really need to try and put a lot of emphasis. We will start the session with a presentation from Mr. Ali Resting, the Managing Director of Real Image Internet, which is one of the leading ICT companies in the country. The second part of our session will go into detail in terms of question and answer sessions, where participants and delegates in the meeting will contribute in terms of their views on how we can take advantage of the situation and be innovative and come up with really solutions in the ICT sector that will bring about and assist the country in dealing with some of the challenges and issues that we have as a country.
My name is Ali Resting. I'm the Managing Director of Real Image Internet, an internet service provider based in Eswatini. I've had the privilege of being in business and running this entity for the last 24 years. I have seen the country at its best. I have seen it probably now at some of its most challenging times. Technology is my space and something that I've always been passionate about. When I started out at Real Image, one of the things I wanted to try and do was to change mindsets. I wanted to make, and for the country at large to understand that we don't necessarily have to have aged people working in your organization. The average age of my employees in my workplace is about 33 years old. I've got about 50 employees that work for us, and we've grown through so many things. We are now met with this very interesting and very challenging situation of COVID. Something that probably will not leave us today. It may come in a different shape and form tomorrow. It's imperative for us as a country to continue to mold ourselves, change ourselves, adapt, realign, to take advantage, and at least to be able to survive. And I do believe a lot of what we will be doing is dependent on our young people in our country to take this country forward. It also is very imperative in terms of our innovativeness to stay relevant, not only to support homegrown solutions, but also to play on a regional stage. There is great opportunity for this country. Yes, we are in a very difficult 2020 situation. It may even be a tougher 2021, but at least if we do the groundwork now, we can try and get somewhere. There are many challenges, and equally as much, there are many opportunities. Maybe let me touch on the challenges first. I think what Swaziland lacks is a lot of lack of local support, belief, trust from our stakeholders. Our stakeholders are government, other entities that actually would instill and provide support to local businesses and local young people. There's also a great need for us to improve the infrastructure, as we are a non-manufacturing company or country. There's a slow adoption and understanding of technology-related initiatives. A lot more focus needs to now be driven towards ICTs as a way of stimulating economic activity. The technological divide and absence of technology from those that have and those that have not. Such a situation continues to draw a bigger gap in terms of the technological divide. We need to find ways in which we can bridge that situation so that we are all on par, at least in schools, make sure that each of the schools has at least at the very basic level connectivity. Students to be allowed to have ICT as a subject. It shouldn't be an optional, it should be compulsory. Just as it is that you learn your languages, that is compulsory. We will not be able to play on a regional stage if we are not able to harness the greatness that ICTs do bring. There is great opportunity in that. Some of the other things that need to be done. I have seen for our organization during this period, we've played a major role. We've worked very closely with the Ministry of Health, with NDMA. We've used our skills of being able to create ICT-related solutions to try and solve real ground or real life problems. For the first time in this country, we've got correctional services, we've got fire and emergency services, we've got EMS, which are the emergency support system guys, we've got the police, we've got the army. All of them are working together on a solution that we have designed, a locally grown solution for a local problem. There is great opportunity. We have seen the central bank has on many occasions done various fintech type challenges. It is my hope and wish that we can support these a lot more. A lot of the team members that we have came out of those groups that we were made aware of, that they have that ability. I've taken on that. I want to grow this thing to be something else. Young people just need to be given a stage. If you do not believe, you will never ever unleash the opportunities that they bring onto the table. We need to let the beliefs of yesteryear stay in yesteryear. We are into a new era. The young people, every single economy in the world believes and supports its young people. Without us supporting that, we have no future. So we do need to do that. We need to give opportunity to them. The millennials are our future. They are smart, they're savvy, they're energetic and creative. We need to change the mindset of all our kids need to be doctors. They all need to be lawyers and so forth. I'll tell you part of a story of my life. My parents hoped I was going to go through formal tertiary training, which every parent wants. Obviously, it's a validation that education has taken place and so forth. And I remember I went into a program initially at Rhodes University. And I struggled. I struggled to fit in within the molds of what they were trying to get me to do. And I didn't do well. Doesn't mean I don't have the apt. The structure of the program didn't allow me to excel the way I wanted to excel. Mind you, I had already started in business. So yes, I had half an ear. One of my business partners was running the company while I was at school. The whole idea was that I was going to go to school, get more knowledge, bring it back to the company and help it grow. But the program was just too rigid. It didn't allow for one to grow. And I didn't make it through that program. It's not because I'm dumb or anything like that. It's just the way it's structured did not allow for that creativity to happen. There is so much that we need to do to continue to promote innovativeness. It was fortunate for me that when I started off doing internet, no one knew what it was. So they didn't even know how to stop this thing because they didn't know what it was. I also didn't know what it was going to grow up to be. There was no Google at that time that you can go online and search, how do you start up an internet company? All we were doing is providing email addresses to people, and then it grows organically. So I had very little resistance at that time. I see it more now that people understand what it is, but we do need to change. Our mindset needs to change, and our young people need to be given a stage to perform. I think 2020 has been an incredibly mind-boggling year, incredibly mind-boggling. We've seen some of the biggest corporates fall apart. As challenging as it has been, we've seen survivors who've managed to plow their way through. Eswatini has also done its best to try and survive. There's a lot more that we can do. It's small things, it's small pieces here and there that we just need to attend to, and so much more can be done. 2021, one hopes, will be a much better period. I am always very wary. I hear now Europe is going to another second lockdown. We need to also assess that the effect of what COVID has been overseas is not quite to the same level that it has been in Africa. We need to be cautious of our approach when we try and limit economic activity We are too small a country to afford to shut down. No one is coming to our rescue. That we must know. We are the ones to survive it. So yes, I understand government has a responsibility, and I think enough education has been done and shared with the people. Going forward, I think one has to take the approach that, look, if you want to do business, continue and do business. If you want to stay at home, stay at home. Those who want to play must play. But we cannot afford to close the economy. We will collapse at some point or another. So we really need to rethink it. And yes, there's a social good we are trying to do, but the economic one, whilst doing the social good, is equally as important. The two need to support each other. We won't live if there's no money to live. You know, we need to just find that fine balance between that and then hope for a better one. So yeah, I'm hoping for a much better 2021.
Thank you very much to our recent presenter, Mr. Ali Resting, who was speaking to the topic of innovation in the new normal. And once again, thank you to Mr. Dennis Mbingo from FNB, who spoke about banking in the new normal. At this point, I think my thank yous are not enough unless they come even from a stronger voice. The host, the Minister for ICT, Acting Minister, Mr. Mangoba Khumalo. Please give us your closing remarks, Minister.
Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, Principal Secretaries, Under Secretaries, Academic Fellows, Chief Executive Officers, Captains of Industry, Government officials, I greet you all. I would like to commend the team for rising to the occasion and ensuring that the ICT Fair is hosted this year, regardless of the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. It emphasizes that in every crisis, there is an opportunity, and COVID-19 is no different. ICT is crucial for development, and its role cannot be underestimated. It is the catalyst and backbone for technological advancement and attaining the knowledge-based economy. Furthermore, innovation in the ICT sector is crucial for competitiveness, decreasing costs, increasing productivity, and product diversity. The ICT Fair is an important event as it is a platform for ICT advocacy and awareness. Increased awareness will encourage ICT absorption and the relevance of the sector in meeting the changes faced by Eswatini. We have seen and watched the event grow and expose the talents of young people from different walks of life in the Kingdom of Eswatini. This can only mean we are on the right path and have a task at hand to ensure that the talent does not go to waste, but is used to develop solutions that are responsive to the needs of Eswatini. The event has been a very huge success with its diversity in terms of the audience and the content. The career fair has been enlightening and encouraging for young people to see others from humble beginnings strive and make moves has been very encouraging. The seminar also serves to convey changes and opportunities that are available in the industry. The competition also serves to discover all the different talents that exist in ICT. The spirit of working together is highly commendable and very encouraged. Collaboration is crucial because it propels knowledge generation, fluidity, and use. Furthermore, it spreads vital resources and gives rise to key institutions in the national system of innovation, thereby reinforcing each other. I would also like to commend First National Bank, FNB, for the constant interest and enthusiasm shown towards this event. You have supported the advocacy of ICT consistently, and for this as a ministry we are truly grateful. Abraham Lincoln once said, "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to deal with the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the closing remarks. On my own behalf, I would also like to thank you for joining us today. We'd like to first start by thanking our dignitaries for being here, our facilitators, our moderators, and our speakers. It has truly been a very different ICT fair. In previous years, we've held the University of Eswatini. We were walking about, but the new normal is changing and dictating that we need to change the way we live, the way we play, the way we do business, and the way we grow. So I believe and I trust that as you participated today, you have picked up a few things that will help you to modify yourself, to grow, and to make sure that you do not become extinct, because people that are stubborn and do not want to change, especially in these times, they fail and they become extinct. A great writer, one that I like myself, is an educator, he's a philosopher, he's a management consultant. Peter Drucker says, the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence itself, but it is to act with yesterday's logic when you realize that things have changed. Thank you very much. God bless you.